Now, DaBaby, it's been a long time since I heard that name. Duh, let's go, baby. One of my favorite rappers in a game, obviously. It's been a while since we spoke about DaBaby. The last time we spoke about him was over 9 months ago when we were having a discussion about his low album sales. DaBaby was making some excuses for why his album sold so low, saying that the industry had blackballed him and that's why his numbers were so low. Not bad for the blackballed DaBaby, he said on his Instagram story. The album in question was Baby on Baby 2. It ended up pushing 17K first week, which was obviously a huge regression because DaBaby at one point did over 124,000 in first week sales. Now that was during his brand new Lamborghini fucking cop car days, Rockstar. That record ended up dominating the charts, by the way. It literally spent 7 weeks at #1, which is crazy. The fact that DaBaby went from all that success to where he is right now, I mean, life can't come at you fast. And for DaBaby, in a lot of ways, he was the one begging for life to come at him. When you beg for life to come at you, that's gonna come at you, and that's for sure. DaBaby's gone through a lot in his career. I mean, he got canceled like a gazillion times, shot a couple people, shot some more people, and shot some more people. Mans went on a violent streak for a little while. He was committed to his mission to put as many niggas in the grave as possible. All jokes aside, he did put one person in the grave and he did shoot another person in the leg. And to be fair, both of those situations, I don't think he was in the wrong. In one of those instances, he was in Walmart with his daughter and his then girlfriend when a couple dudes tried to press him. One thing led to another and DaBaby protected himself and his family. That's how I look at that story. He did get a lot of flack from the mainstream after the surveillance footage came out, but to me, seeing that footage just highlighted why he did what he did. He was put in a compromising situation and unfortunately, of course, had to take a life. Having to do that is not something most people want to do, but he did what he had to do. Sad for the 19-year-old who engaged in that confrontation because he could have been here today had he not approached him. DaBaby was also last year involved in another incident involving him having to shoot somebody. He shot a man in the leg. He shot a man in the leg. But he was of course justified in doing so. Now as for that story, so somebody thought it was a good idea to trespass in DaBaby's property of all people. That ain't no different from begging God to enter the gates, so I have no clue why the person did that. But knowing DaBaby, I'm sure you can imagine what happened. And no, he did not welcome him in the house and feed the man grapes. He shot him. I don't know why he would, but that's not what he did. Instead, what he decided to do was pull out the pyong, 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 pyong. That's the sound of a gun. DaBaby decided to, as he himself put it, neutralize the threat. In other words, DaBaby seen the nigga and he shot the nigga in the damn leg to the point where he was caught doing the stanky leg all the way to the ER. By the way, the intruder actually caught a single shot to the leg. I'm sure you know what that means. DaBaby got good aim. I know we always joke about DaBaby being a violent guy, which he for sure is, but the other side of it is the two scenarios where he provided some gun smoke, if you will. He was justified in doing so. Now, he was not justified in brutally palming that one woman's face at a show after she put a phone in his face. He smacked her, bro. Won't play that video, but let's just say that DaBaby left an impactful print on a woman's face after she got very close to him and put a phone in his face. And also, let's not forget the infamous, said he really tried pushing that kiss on that poor woman, bro. I'm sure she's traumatized. Aside from the unwanted kisses and aside from the violence, we of course had those comments on that stage. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, so let's reminisce on it together, shall we? So the boy was performing at Rolling Loud back in 2021 when he decided to make some comments. Now, what exactly did he say? If you didn't show up today with HIV, AIDS, or any of them deadly sexually transmitted diseases that'll make you die in 2 or 3 weeks, then put your cell phone lighters up. Ladies, if your puss smell like water, put your cell phone lighters up. Fellas, if you ain't sucking dick in the parking lot, put your cell phone lighters up. Now, why exactly DaBaby had dudes sucking dick in the parking lot on his mind that very day? I don't know. Only the Lord knows, or maybe the Lord can't even answer that. Now, that was the bomb. Boom, that erupted everything. Because after this, after he made these comments, DaBaby officially became public enemy #1. Everything changed for DaBaby. He got pulled from several festivals, lost out on several current brand deals, was getting the kicked out of him digitally on social media. Some of the biggest artists in the world came out and denounced him. He also lost out on a Burger King meal collaboration that was in the process of getting released. A lot of people, including me, talk about artists getting canceled, but yeah, damn, I didn't know what cancel culture was until we saw the repercussions of what he said. DaBaby initially stood 10 toes down on his comments. Not surprising, I was kind of expecting that. But what happened after that is real life hit him in the face. And I'm sure he was seeing all his money-making opportunities slipping away one by one, and he then, of course, apologized. By that point, it was obviously too late. The damage had already been done. As for what he said, I still think about those comments, and I genuinely wonder what prompted DaBaby to think about dude sucking dick in the back of a parking lot while he's on stage in front of thousands. Maybe that's what he wanted to do himself. It was almost like his intrusive thoughts won the battle, and boom, he spit it out. If that was the case, those intrusive thoughts winning the battle cost him a lot of money. After that, DaBaby was just never the same, and I don't want to say that that particular situation was the nail in the coffin, because really if you think about it, hip-hop didn't care all that much. It was more so the outside making noise, which then resulted in certain parts of the hip-hop industry caring due to the intimidation that led to certain parts of the industry following suit in the cancellation of DaBaby. With that being the case, after that DaBaby obviously became radioactive as hell. I didn't see too many people putting DaBaby on their records or even being in the same room, posted up with him. So in a lot of ways, it did of course have an effect on him, but I think the effect was more so the external pushback he received from the mainstream, which in return trickled itself down to the hip-hop industry. The thing about DaBaby in general is he never appeared as a good guy with high levels of integrity and character to begin with. I think in a lot of ways people were waiting for him to mess up, and eventually he did, and they put his ass in a coffin. And it ain't like DaBaby didn't provide the damn coffin. I mean, he supplied it, he built the damn coffin, he was even the one who hosted the damn ceremony, the funeral and shit. So when I see how everything went down, I look at it and I say, it makes complete sense. It really does. On top of that, his music was average at best. Let's keep it a garbanzo bean, man. Mr. Baby had bangers, but was kind of boring and repetitive and formulaic. I didn't see too much growth in his music from the time he got in the game to the point he got booted out, which he's not really technically booted out, but you get what I'm saying. DaBaby stayed consistently boring, which, is something that works for a lot of rappers, but not for him. It's one thing to be boring, but it's another thing to be boring, but on top of that, be publicly known as a man who lacks in the integrity department. That's not a good outcome, and I know a lot of people think it doesn't matter because hey, the rap game is filled with rappers like that, right? It's one thing to have a career in a moment of time, but it's another thing to have a career with longevity. At some point, the character aspect will have a severe negative effect on your career because it's impossible to get anywhere in this life without working with people like helping others who are good inside and out, and if you appear as someone who is not that, you're automatically going to have less of those people crossing your path. I don't know if this applies to DaBaby, I'm just saying in general that's how it is, right? And speaking of this entire controversy, right, around 2 months ago, DaBaby did this interview where he was touching on the controversy he went through, and he was asked the question, would you have handled it differently in the beginning when this entire thing started? And this is what DaBaby said.
If you could go back now, would you the beginning of it, would you deal with it differently?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's something I came out my own mouth and said, you know what I mean? Like as of late, not even as of late, I would have maybe handled it the way I would apologize, but hey, I didn't mean to apologize. Like, I'm this type of person. Like, I'm gonna fight to the tooth and nail. Like, if you know what I mean? Yeah. About like my character and me and my intentions, that's something I'll never let. Like, I'm not gonna let you know what I mean, make me, I'm not a bad person at all.
I think this is the first time I've heard DaBaby sound somewhat remorseful over anything he's been involved in. I don't know if it's all the business that he lost out on that made him say this, or that he genuinely regrets how he handled it, because he did mention character, which I thought was interesting. And I'm not even going to hold it over his head and say that he's not genuine, because at the end of the day, I don't know, where his heart truly lies. But I do know that it is a little too late now. It's good that he's being introspective though. I'm all for people growing. Aside from that, ain't too much going on with DaBaby. Things have been fairly quiet on his end. He did drop this record called Shake Some, which is doing decent, and I'll keep it a kidney bean and say that I don't think it's a bad song at all. It's kind of catchy, I like the beat, but that's about it. It's been really interesting to witness DaBaby's trials and tribulations in the game. I'm not sure if he can make a proper comeback like on some 2020 vibes, because he was on top that entire year. I think for that to happen, some real magic got to take place. Whether or not that can happen, I guess only time will tell. Anyway, hit that like button if you made it all the way to the end. If you're new here, my name is BlackySpeakz. I appreciate you for joining me today. Subscribe if you're new. I appreciate you for listening. Anyway, any thoughts on DaBaby these days? What do you guys think about his time in the industry, just overall? How do you feel about his presence in the game, or the lack of, I should say? With that being said, catch you tomorrow, and I'm out.